Welcome to Simply Explained English. I am Lisa.
And I'm Eric. Do you want to improve your English easily? If so, you're in the right place. Okay, today we'll teach some common phrasal verbs from the previous podcasts. It will be a good review for you.
Okay, let's have a look at them, Eric.
The first word today is take to something or somebody. Then we will continue with get along with and stick to. Then get through and run out of something. And we'll continue with to end up, to run into, to keep up with, to kick off and lead to. In the second section, we'll start with figure out and take up, then stand out. Take off, depend on.
And then look after. Bring up something. Look up something. To cut down on. The last one is put something off. Okay, let's start with the first phrasal verb.
The first one is take to something or somebody. Take to something or somebody means to start liking something or someone, usually quickly and naturally.
For example, if someone starts a new hobby and enjoys it immediately, we can say, they took to it quickly. Like, when I first tried painting, I took to it right away. I loved it from the start.
That's a great example. Another way we use this phrase is, for example, the new student took to his classmates immediately. That means he became friendly with them quickly.
Oh, so if I say, my little brother took to our new puppy instantly, it means he liked the puppy from the very beginning.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about structure. We use take to followed by a noun or pronoun. For example, she took to yoga, or he took to his new job.
Right. But can we also use it with verbs?
Great question. Yes, but you need to use the ing form. For example, she took to swimming after just one lesson.
So if I say, he took to cooking during the summer, it means he started cooking and enjoyed it.
Yes, Lisa. Great example. The next phrase is get along with.
Get along with.
Get along is a phrasal verb, and it means to have a friendly and good relationship with someone. For example, if two people like each other and don't argue, you can say they get along very well.
Like when my cousins visit, we always have fun together. I could say, I get along with my cousins.
Here's another one. It's important to get along with your co-workers at work. This means having a good relationship with them makes working together easier.
And this is my example. Even though they are very different, they still get along. This means they are friendly and have a good relationship despite their differences.
Here's a tip. Get along is often followed by with when you mention the person or people. For example, I get along with my neighbor. If you don't mention anyone, you can just say, we get along.
That's helpful. Eric, I think get along is informal.
Yes, Lisa. Get along is more informal, so it's perfect for casual conversations. If you're in a formal situation, you might say, have a good relationship instead.
So I could say, I get along with my classmates. But in a formal letter, I'd write, I have a good relationship with my classmates. Does it sound naturally, Eric?
Exactly, Lisa. That's a perfect way to explain it. The next word is stick to.
Stick to.
Stick to is a phrasal verb. It means to continue doing something without changing it, even if it's hard. You can stick to a plan, a decision, or even a goal.
Oh, it's like staying focused on one thing or following a plan. For example, I'll stick to my exercise routine this year. It means I'll keep doing it, no matter what.
Exactly. Here's another example. He sticks to his diet because he wants to stay healthy. This means he follows his diet and doesn't give up.
It sounds like stick to is about being consistent.
That's right. It's often used when talking about habits, rules, or plans.
Okay, let me give another example. They decided to stick to the rules during the game. This means they followed the rules and didn't change them.
Perfect, Lisa.
Let's talk about grammar. What's special about stick to?
After stick to, you usually add a noun or a plan, like stick to your schedule or stick to your promise.
I see. And it's a great phrase to use when talking about being disciplined or consistent. For example, if you stick to your studies, you'll improve quickly.
That's right. So whenever you hear stick to, think about keeping doing something and not changing it. The next word is get through.
Get through.
Get through is a phrasal verb. It means to succeed in dealing with a difficult situation or to finish something that is hard or takes a lot of time.
Exactly, Eric. Like if you're studying for a really hard test, you might say, I just need to get through this week. It means you're focusing on managing the stress and finishing what you need to do.
Right. Here's another example. We all work together to get through the busy season at work. This means everyone helped each other to manage and complete all the hard work during that time.
And in my example, it was a tough day at work, but I managed to get through it. It means that the day at work was difficult, maybe stressful or tiring, but I was able to finish the day. I succeeded even though it was hard.
A quick grammar tip. Get through is usually followed by the thing you're dealing with or finishing. For example, get through a project. Get through a long day.
And here's a little reminder. Get through is used in both formal and informal English, so you can use it in most situations. Eric, would you say it's common?
Oh yes, it's pretty common, especially when talking about tough days, challenges, or even boring tasks. What do you think, Lisa?
Absolutely. I use it all the time when I'm talking about my work or even studying. It's definitely a useful phrase to know.
Run out of something.
Run out of something.
Run out of something is a phrasal verb, and it means to use all of something so that there is none left. It's used when you no longer have any more of a certain item, like food, money, or time.
Exactly, Eric. If you run out of something, it means you've used it all up and now it's gone. It could be anything, like running out of gas in your car or running out of ideas during a discussion.
Now, let's move on to some examples to make it clearer. Here's one. We ran out of milk, so we need to go to the store. It means that we used all the milk we had, and now there's none left, so we have to buy more.
Great example. Here's another one. He ran out of time before he could finish the exam. It means that he didn't have enough time to complete the exam because all of his available time was used up.
Now, let's talk about a quick grammar tip. Run out of is always followed by the thing that you no longer have. For example, run out of fuel, run out of patience, or run out of money. It helps make it clear what exactly is gone.
Eric, can you think of a time when you ran out of something really important?
Yes, I remember once I ran out of gas while driving. It was really stressful because I had to wait for help on the side of the road. What about you, Lisa?
I also remember running out of battery on my phone during an important call. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine, Lisa. The next word is to end up.
To end up.
To end up is a phrasal verb, and it is such a handy phrase in English. It means that something happens as a result, often unexpectedly.
Exactly. It's like saying, this is what finally happened, even if it wasn't planned.
Right. Let's dive into how we use it. First, we use to end up when talking about where we are or what happens in the end. For example, if you plan to visit one cafe but it was closed, you might say, I wanted to go to Cafe A, but I ended up at Cafe B.
That's a great example. It shows that your final situation was different from the original plan.
Yes, another example is, After getting lost, we ended up in a small village.
Ah, so they didn't plan to go to the village, but that's where they were in the end.
Exactly. Now, let's look at the grammar. End up is a phrasal verb. It's usually followed by a verb in the ing form or by a place.
Like, I ended up staying at home all weekend.
Or she ended up working late at the office.
My next question. How formal is to end up, Eric?
Well, it's more casual. We use it a lot in conversation and informal writing.
Let's quickly review. To end up means the result or final situation, often unexpected. Use verb plus ing or a place after it, and remember, it's more casual.
Perfect summary, Lisa. The next word is run into.
Run into.
Run into is a phrasal verb. It has 3 common meanings.
3. Wow. Let's hear them.
Sure. First, it can mean to meet someone by chance. For example, I ran into Sarah at the grocery store.
Oh, so you didn't plan to meet her, it just happened.
Exactly. Or I ran into my old teacher at the store.
Got it. Second meaning?
The second meaning is to encounter a problem or difficulty. For example, we ran into some trouble with the project. Or we ran into traffic on the way to the airport. This means they unexpectedly faced a lot of cars and delays.
Ah, so it's not about meeting someone, but facing a problem.
That's right. And the third meaning is literally hitting something, usually with a vehicle or by accident. For example, he ran into a tree while driving.
Oh no. Hopefully just a small accident.
Let's hope so. Run into is simple, natural, and used all the time in daily conversations. So, if you meet someone by surprise or face a problem you didn't expect, you can say, I ran into...
Right.
Yes.
And since surprises happen every day, it's super useful.
Yes, Lisa. The next word is keep up.
Keep up.
Keep up is a phrasal verb. It means to stay at the same level or speed as someone or something. For example, if you are walking with a friend who walks very fast, you might need to keep up so you don't fall behind.
You can use it when talking about walking or running, like, can you keep up with me? It means, can you go as fast as I'm going?
Exactly. Another common use is in learning or work. For example, she studies every day to keep up with her classmates. This means she studies hard to stay at the same level as her classmates in school.
Oh, and it can also mean staying informed, like, I try to keep up with the news.
Great point, Lisa. Now, let's talk about how we use it in sentences. The structure is pretty simple. You can use keep up by itself, like keep up. You can use it with to talk about what you're keeping up with, like I keep up with my emails every day.
I like how flexible this phrase is. Eric, is it formal or informal?
It's mostly informal, but you can use it in formal situations if the context is appropriate. For example, in a business meeting, you might hear, let's keep up with the schedule.
Got it.
Before we wrap up, let's review. Keep up means to stay at the same level, whether it's speed, learning, or being informed. It's flexible, informal, and easy to use.
Thank you for the summary, Eric. Let's move on to the next word.
The next word is kick off.
Kick off.
To kick off is a phrasal verb. It means to start something, especially an event or activity. It's often used when something begins in an energetic or official way. It originally comes from sports, like football or soccer, where the game starts with a literal kick. For example, the game will kick off at 3 p.m., but now we use it for many types of beginnings.
For example, can I say, let's kick off the meeting with some updates? Or, They're kicking off the concert with their biggest hit.
Exactly. Both are correct. Now, let's talk about grammar. You can use kick off as a verb, like the event kicks off at noon. But it can also be a noun like the kickoff is at 7 p.m.
Here's a fun example. Imagine you're at a party and someone says, "Let's kick off the night with some music."
Good one. Here's another. If a new season of a TV show starts, you can say, the new season kicks off next month.
Perfect. Now, Eric, is this phrase formal or informal?
It's neutral, so you can use it in both formal and informal situations. Just make sure the tone matches your audience.
Before we wrap up, let's review. Kick off means to start something, whether it's a game, event, or activity.
And remember, it can be a verb or a noun, and it works in formal and informal situations.
That's it for the word kick off.
Next word is lead to.
Lead to.
Lead to is a phrasal verb. It's very common in English, and it means to cause something to happen or to result in something.
For example, if I say, eating too much junk food can lead to health problems, I mean that eating junk food is not good for health.
Exactly. The verb lead means to guide or direct. When we add to, it connects the action to the result. So lead to shows cause and effect.
Got it. Is it always about bad things, Eric?
Great question. No. Lead to can describe both positive and negative results. For example, hard work can lead to success. That's a good result.
Here's another one. Learning English can lead to exciting opportunities.
Perfect example, Lisa. Now, let's talk about grammar. After lead to, we usually use a noun or a noun phrase. For example, lead to success or lead to problems. But if you want to use a verb after lead to, you should always use ing form of the verb. For example, not exercising can lead to gaining weight.
Or, too much stress can lead to feeling overwhelmed.
Good example, Lisa. So remember, lead to, super useful verb that can be used in both informal and formal situations to show how one thing causes another. The next word is figure out.
Figure out.
Figure out is a phrasal verb. It means to find an answer, solution, or understand something. For example, if you don't know how to do something, you work on it until you understand it. That's figuring it out.
Yes, like when you're trying to solve a puzzle, you think about it, and then you figure out the answer. Here's an example. I couldn't understand the math problem, but my teacher helped me figure it out. This means the teacher helped me find the answer to the math problem.
Another example. She spent hours trying to figure out why her phone wasn't working. This means she was trying to understand the problem with her phone. Now, here's a tip. Figure out can be split. You can say, figure it out or figure this out. For example, can you figure it out?
You can also use it when you're talking about people. For example, I can't figure her out. This means you don't understand her behavior.
So remember, figure out is very useful for solving problems and understanding things. The next word is to take up.
To take up.
Take up is a phrasal verb. It means to start doing a new activity, hobby, or habit. For example, if you decide to start playing tennis, you can say, I'm going to take up tennis.
Yes, it's like starting something new and making it part of your life. For example, I took up painting last year, and now it's my favorite hobby.
Or, he took up yoga to feel more relaxed. This means he started practicing yoga as a way to relax.
Another example is, she decided to take up baking during the holidays. This means she started learning and practicing how to bake.
Now, here's a tip about grammar. After take up, we usually use a noun or a gerund, a verb with ing. For example, take up swimming or take up photography.
Good point. Also, take up can be used in different ways, like talking about space or time. For example, this table takes up too much space in the living room. But today, we're focusing on the meaning of starting an activity.
Learning to take up new useful things is a great way to grow and have fun in life. The next phrase is stand out.
Stand out.
Stand out is a phrasal verb. It means to be very noticeable or easy to see because you're different or special in some way. For example, if someone wears a bright red jacket in a group of people wearing black, they stand out.
Ah, I see. So, it's like when something catches your attention because it's different or special, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're at a talent show, and one performer is so amazing that everyone remembers them. That person stands out.
Got it. But can we use it for things too, or just people?
Great question, Lisa. You can use stand out for both people and things. For example, this book really stands out because of its colorful cover.
Oh, that makes sense. Let's give some practical examples. Eric, how about this one? Her painting really stands out in the gallery.
Perfect. That means her painting is special or different from the others. Here's another. Bright colors make this jacket stand out.
Oh, I love that. Can I try one?
Of course.
His loud voice made him stand out during the presentation.
Excellent example, Lisa.
Now, is stand out formal or informal?
I think it's neutral. You can use it in both formal and informal situations. You might say it in a meeting. This idea stands out as the best solution. Or casually, your new shoes really stand out.
So, it's versatile and works in lots of contexts.
The first word is depend on.
Depend on.
Depend on is a phrasal verb. It describes situations where one thing is affected by another. It also means to trust someone or something. For example, when we say, our plans depend on the weather, it means the weather will affect our plans. Or we can also say, the price of the tickets depends on the seats. This means the ticket cost changes according to the seat location.
For the second meaning, I can always depend on my best friend. Means I can trust my best friend to help me. Let me give another example. Children depend on their parents for food and shelter. This means children need their parents to provide these things.
Good example, Lisa. Depend on is a verb. Its adjective form is to be dependent on. For example, he's still financially dependent on his parents. This means his parents still help him financially.
Ah, that's a good tip. What about pronouns? Can I say, it depends on me or it depends on her?
Absolutely. You can use depend on with pronouns like me, you, him, etc. For example, the decision depends on her, or it depends on you.
So, depend on is great for talking about needs or trust.
Yes, Lisa, and it's a very useful phrase in both everyday conversations and formal situations.
Okay, well, we've explained depend on pretty well. Now, shall we move on to the next phrase?
Let's do that. The next word is look after someone or something.
Look after someone or something.
Look after someone or something is a phrasal verb that means to take care of them. It's about being responsible for their well-being or making sure they're okay.
You can also use it for things like, please look after my plants while I'm on vacation. That means taking care of the plants by watering them and keeping them healthy.
Here's an example. He looks after his younger brother when their parents are at work. This means he takes care of his brother by making sure he's safe and happy.
Another example. Can you look after my bag while I go to the restroom? This means, can you keep my bag safe for a short time?
Exactly. You can look after people, animals, or even objects. Like, can you look after my plants while I'm on vacation?
So, it's all about being responsible for something or someone.
That's right. It's also used in British English more often than American English, but it's understood everywhere. And also, it's neutral, so you can use it in any situation. For example, you might say, I look after my grandparents in a casual chat, or I look after client accounts in a formal work setting.
Okay, I think we've explained look after really well. Let's move on to the next word, Eric.
The next word is take off.
Take off.
Take off has a few meanings. Let's start with the first meaning, to remove something. When we say take off, we often mean to remove clothes or accessories. For example, he took off his clothes and got into the shower.
Here's another example. It's hot today, I'll take off my jacket.
Yes, Lisa, meaning to leave the ground. We often use this when talking about airplanes. For example, the plane will take off at 3 p.m.
Here's another example. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. The plane is about to take off.
Good one, Lisa. This meaning is all about movement into the air. The third meaning is to leave quickly or suddenly. For example, when the bell rang, the students took off to play outside.
Here's another one. I saw a rabbit in the garden, but it took off when it heard me.
Great example. This meaning is all about leaving in a hurry.
So, take off means to talk about flights, removing things, or leaving quickly.
Perfect summary, Lisa. The next word is bring up something.
Bring up something.
To bring up something means to mention or talk about a topic.
So, if you bring up something, you start talking about it.
Exactly. Here's an example. During the meeting, my boss brought up a new project.
That means the boss started talking about the new project.
Yes. Here's another one. Imagine you are at dinner with your family. Your brother says, Mom, I want a new phone. So he is bringing up the topic of a new phone.
Let me give one example. Yesterday, she brought up a great idea in class. It means she started to talk about a great idea in class.
Perfect. And we can also say, I don't want to bring up that problem again. That means you don't want to talk about it. And one more thing. Bring up is informal. In formal situations, people might say mention instead. The next word is look up something.
Look up something.
Look up something is a phrasal verb. It means to search for information about something, usually in a book, on the internet, or in a dictionary.
Oh, so it's like when I don't know the meaning of a word, I can look it up in the dictionary?
Exactly. For example, I didn't know what photosynthesis meant, so I looked it up online.
Got it. It's about finding answers or information.
That's right. You can also use it for other things, like looking up a phone number, an address, or even directions.
Like, I need to look up the train schedule before we leave.
Perfect example, Lisa. Now, a quick grammar tip. Look up is separable, so you can say look something up or look it up. For example, I'll look it up for you is correct, but you can't say I looked up it.
Okay, now it's time to practice. Think about something you've looked up recently. Maybe a recipe or some information for school or work.
Okay. Yesterday, I looked up how to bake a chocolate cake.
Or, I looked up the address of a new restaurant I want to try.
Great example, Lisa.
Eric, do you think look up is formal or informal?
It's more casual, Lisa. You'd use it in conversations or emails with friends. In a formal setting, you might say research instead, like, I need to research this topic.
Good point. But for everyday use, look up works perfectly.
The next word is cut down on.
Cut down on.
Cut down on is a phrasal verb. It means to use less of something or do something less often. It's not about stopping completely, just using or doing less.
Oh, I've heard people say, I need to cut down on fast foods. That means they want to eat less fast food, right?
Exactly, Lisa. Here's an easy example. I'm trying to cut down on watching TV because I need more time for studying. This means the person wants to spend less time watching TV.
That makes sense. Here's another example. She decided to cut down on coffee because it keeps her awake at night. This means she wants to drink less coffee because it's affecting her sleep.
Great example. Now, let's talk about some grammar tips. You can use a noun or ing form of a word after on. For example, cut down on sugar or cut down on spending.
So on is important. Is this phrase formal or informal, Eric?
It's neutral, so you can use it in both formal and informal situations. For example, in a formal setting, you might say, "We need to cut down on expenses." And with friends, you could say, "I'm cutting down on junk food."
Okay, now let me ask a question our followers.
Go ahead, Lisa.
What is something you'd like to cut down on this year?
That's a great question. Listeners, think about your answer. You can say, "I'd like to cut down on shopping or drinking Coke." The next word is put off.
Put off.
So, put off is a phrasal verb, and it means to delay something. When you put something off, you decide not to do it right away. You decide to do it at a later time.
And honestly, we all do it sometimes. Like when you know you should clean the house, but you are saying, I'll do it tomorrow instead. You're putting it off because maybe you just don't feel like doing it right now.
Totally, Lisa. Here's another example. I put off going to the dentist because I was too busy. It means I delayed going to the dentist. I decided to do it later because of my schedule.
Another one could be that she put off her homework until the last night. It means she waited until the very last minute to get it done.
Put something off is something we often do when we don't feel like doing a task or if it seems too difficult or boring at the moment. It's easy to put things off, but it can cause more stress later on.
Absolutely. Having a habit of putting off everything is not a good thing.
I agree, Lisa. By the way, a quick grammar tip. Put off is always followed by the thing you delay. For example, put off a meeting. Put off my homework. But if you use a word, you should use ing form, like put off doing the laundry or put off making a decision.
And just to recap, put something off is an informal phrase. You'll hear it a lot in everyday conversations, especially when people are talking about avoiding tasks they don't want to do.
Good summary, Lisa.